A letter to myself 12 years ago when we first got into business. Funny story, it was literally an overnight registry, right place, right time. Met the marketing director of Mercedes. He asked me if, what I'm up to these days. I just said, look, I'm doing photography, literally only doing projects on Instagram, working for free, doing TFP, fashion, music, all of that jazz, making zero fucking money. And this was one of the first official gigs. I think it was the first gig because I remember clearly registering the business overnight. And then I remember after the job, Googling what invoices look like and literally creating a Word document version, converting it to PDF and firing that off. Please pay directly into my bank account. Um, that was an experience. I think looking back, if I were to connect with myself at that point to offer some advice, what would be the best advice? I would say raise your expectations. I know it's early. I know you just got your first win, but you got to understand this is the very beginning, and it's so important in the first few years of business that you just really, really, really capitalize on your time. It's so important. Yes, you're young. Yes, you're 21. Yes, you're just starting out your life. Yes, you have magnificent, wonderful friends, and you like to party, and the weekends are all about that. But you have to understand that you made a choice to get into business, not because it was a want or a need. It was more so just innate. It's just something that you wanted to do. Well, not so much wanted to do. It's something you can't not do, right? The stubbornness that you have, which becomes a good thing later on in life, will not allow you to hold a 9 to 5 job. Okay. Simple facts. You will, well, in my timeline, end up with doing 9 to 5 jobs in the aspiration and in alignment of entrepreneurship, like learning how to become a better business owner. But ultimately, all of that is going to fold because nothing really is going to play out your way, like the way that you want it to be, the way that you dream it to be, the way that you want it to be expected to be, if that makes sense. So, going back to what I'm trying to say, raise your expectations in everything, right? In everything. I'm still learning to this day, but you need to do the same thing, right? And we can start with prices. Okay, this first gig, great. You got it. You won it. You even sold a video with no audio, which is rubbish. Shouldn't have done that. But you're a yes man. You said yes to everything, which is great because that teaches you and molds you to become a better person later on in life. But probably shouldn't have done that. You didn't even have audio on your camera. Anyways, that's fine. Um, the thing is, not that I'm trying to force you to do this tomorrow. It's more so something you can keep on your shoulder to remind yourself, hey, future me, just talk to me. Instead, I need to raise my expectations in everything. What we can focus on today is more so about prices. Okay. Yes, you charge 250 for today's event. Great, fantastic. The invoice is going to get paid. Don't you worry. It's all good. Um, but you need to start learning what would you do different if you charged 500? What would you do different if you charged 750? What would you do different if it was 1000? The same event. How would you approach it differently at 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x, and so on, right? Ultimately 10x and then more. If you start thinking about it this way, how would you operate differently, right? What would you actually do that's different? Now, I'll leave that up to you, okay? But there's so many things you can do, right? And knowing your mindset, you would sit down and ponder and ponder and ponder, and you'll probably find solutions to all of these different scenarios, which is absolutely fantastic, right? Like immediately off the bat, it could be renting out more expensive gear that you don't currently own, right? Better lenses, looking into microphone gear, audio gear potentially, right? Because you promised to do video. I don't know if it was on the spot or something organized beforehand. You already have staff coming to this. Good on you, which is fucking fantastic for a startup to already have a second shooter. I don't know if it was that day. What was the next job? You do get more jobs, so that's fine. But maybe a third shooter, who knows, right? Or maybe actually looking for a videographer who knows that shit. Obviously, you're traveling through unknown territories, but I guess that's the point of what I'm trying to drive home here. It's like the world of business, and the lane, that I'm in this lifetime. Um, There's something always on the other side. When you're comfortable, there is a realm of uncomfortable stuff that you won't look into, but you'll think about, but you won't look into. And it's so important to travel to the other side of the bridge. And it's not necessarily just one bridge, it's many bridges in many places, many planes of fields, right? It's so important to understand where you need to travel and where you need to try. Right now, if you're if you're progressing through to this timeline where I'm in, then there's going to be a lot of curiosity up front. I think you're already at the point where validation has occurred and you've sent out that invoice, the money's come through, it's hit your bank account, happy days. That is just the first point of validation. This job was the first point of validation. What comes next is you seeking out more about you understanding, how do I make more money? Because obviously 250, you're you're gonna be in that paycheck to paycheck life and it's gonna be shit. But thank God mum and dad let you stay at home and you have a safety net. And if you ever really needed anything, you could ask them, even though you won't, because you have some sort of self-worth, which is great. Um, yeah, so raise your expectations. Think about different ways where if you were to raise your price and they said yes, how would you approach it? Right. Obviously, that isn't the case scenario for everyone. Thank God we know how to talk and resonate with people. So the sale actually becomes quite easy. But even to this day, I'm always thinking about how do I raise the price? Right. And I know if I ask you this question now, you're going to say, most likely, I don't want to raise the prices. In fact, I want to lower it, or I want it to be a competitive pricing, right? Because you think that your quality of work is good, ready to print, right? Can be in nice printed albums, can be displayed on billboards, can be this, can be that. You've got the quality because it's really coming from your camera that you bought, but you've got the skill set to actually utilize that camera to create fantastic results. Not everyone knows how to use a camera, right? And that's what sets you apart. But you got to understand there's more things than just the camera, right? There is who you are as a person, how you communicate to people, right? How fast you can deliver the results, right? There's so many different aspects that you got to think about that actually factor into the overall value, right? Value is not just about price. Value is everything in total, the experience, right? If you think about the experience, there's so much that comes into play when you think about it, right? So consider that for a moment. Open your mind to understanding what you're actually offering as an experience. It's not just photos, right? Think about what the use case is for this marketing director. Okay. He has to utilize these photos for some reason, right? Even till this day, I don't know. But I would assume it was for the customers, right? Pictures of them at the event, giving them that VIP treatment. Thanks for coming. Here's a printed photo, that we can stick. Maybe somebody bought someone and it's like, here's you with your car before you even knew it. I don't know. It could have been something like that. You got to understand that there's so much more beyond what you understand now. Always think that, right? I mean, to a degree, took us a few years, but to a degree, there'll be a moment where you need to stop and focus because you can't just keep learning, right? There needs to be a balance. Um, but again, like to the core of who we are naturally curious people who cannot stop learning, cannot explore, cannot stop exploring the boundaries of what we know, right? What we don't know. So, and saying that, moral of the story is to ultimately expand your horizons in every front. You know, why I want to specifically think about price today is because this is connected to a lot of things, right? That you're going to learn as we go. So that's it for today. Um, Thank you kindly for listening and have a bloody wonderful day. And don't drink too much. Alrighty, ciao.